Hello, Bravo bosses, and welcome to the Bravo Investigator Podcast with me, your host, Dana. Today on our reality roundup, we are talking about Summer House, RHONY, our four new Bravo shows, The Bachelor, and VPR/The Valley. Now, today I have Chanel Omari joining me. She is a stand-up comedian, writer, producer, actress, and host of the podcast Chanel in the City. She's been featured on a Bravo TV show called Princesses Long Island, and she hosts her monthly comedy show, West Side Comedy Club, to give back to City Harvest and help the hungry families and children in NYC. I had literally the best conversation with Chanel. She recently had Lexi Wood on her podcast, so that's how I found her. And we totally just connected and vibed. And I was like, girl, you have to come on my podcast. You have to chat Bravo with me. So we had the best time. I hope you guys enjoy it. I also want to apologize for the last week. I have just not been that great with my mental health, so I haven't been having any episodes for the past week. I'm doing a bit better now. I'm just sort of working on it with my therapist and my friends and stuff like that. But I just wanted to apologize to you guys, my BBs, my audience, for not having any new episodes this past week. But I'm back into it. I'm here, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So let's get into it. Chanel Omari, welcome to the Bravo Investigator Podcast.
Thank you for having me. What an honor. I'm obsessed with your podcast. You know that I come to you for number one news, okay? Besides Chanel in the City, but I love your page. We are loving it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. I feel like, okay, so we found each other recently. You have your amazing podcast, Chanel in the City, and it is part of my quote unquote job as like a content creator to be like scoping out the podcast to see where the Bravo Labs are doing their interviews. I don't even know how I came across yours, to be honest. You know what? Lexi must have posted it. Lexi must have posted it. And then I listened to the podcast. I posted a clip and I thought it was a really good interview. I think you're a very, very good interviewer because just because you have a podcast doesn't mean it's necessarily a skill. So I just want to give you props for that. You're a really good interviewer. And I really enjoyed the episode. And then you reached out and we found out that like we're both Jewish queens and we both, I mean, I don't do stand-up anymore, but I used to, a lot of the comics that I know in Toronto. And we just sort of like bonded right away. So I was so excited to have you. And I'm like, listen. And then I went to your podcast page and I started stalking you, as I told you. And I was just like, oh my God, this girl has had guests, honey. She's had everyone, every Bravo love under the sun. And I was just like, oh my God, she has to become my best friend. I have to know everything about her. So I'm so excited to have you here. But how did you get all these Bravo Lab guests? Who are you in the Bravo sphere? And how did you get into Bravo? I would just love to know like your connection with like our love of Bravo.
Oh my God. First of all, you're a great interviewer. I love
you.
I haven't really been asked this, and that's a great question. So I had a show called Princesses of Long Island, which I don't think people have really known because it was 10 years ago. It was like an iconic show. I would say 2013, it aired on Bravo TV. It was kind of like a mini Housewives, 6 Jewish women living in, New York City, but going back home to their parents. It was almost like Summer House, but without like people living in a house, if that makes sense. So
yeah, okay.
And a lot of people loved it, but we had one season and I've always had a good connection with the Bravo producers and the Bravo publicity, and talent, but as well as like, because I come from a producer background, like TV, I like worked for Anderson Cooper and
oh, cool.
Ovich and just a lot like ABC. So I think because I was behind the scenes a lot, I started like cultivating my relationship with all the talent at Bravo. And just over the years, we did a lot of the interviews, they felt comfortable. Because one thing about me is like, I always want to make sure the talent feels comfortable. And even though I want the breaking news, you want the like salacious stuff. As you see with Lexi Wood's interview, it's still a great interview because you get to open them up, So that's exactly how I'm involved with Bravo. Now that I have Chanel in the City, they've been really gracious to share their talent with me and give me exclusives and really share like certain things that you don't see on the show with the Bravo talent, and also their obstacles, because I've been through so much. Like stand-up comedy and just being in television in general isn't easy, and
right.
Easy, right? Like it's a cutthroat industry, and you need that
right.
support. So yeah, that's exactly how I got the Housewives. I'm friends with a lot of them as well, like Luann, De Lesseps, Dorinda. They've all been like really supportive. So yeah, that's pretty much how I got here.
That's amazing. And it's very obvious from your podcast, from just looking over your work, that you are a hard worker. You've you've worked to get to where you are, right? Like you're not one of those people that was just like woke up in like opportunity, right? So that's why I really respect you. I really respect the people that worked really hard to get where they are. So, let's jump right into Summer House because,
Yeah.
you had Lexi on your podcast and Lexi was also on the Vile Files. And she's been doing, a little bit of media. We know that the reunion filmed last week. And so I just thought, like, let's talk a little bit about Lexi Wood. Let's talk a little bit about Summer House in the season. And I would love just to chat about your interview with her versus Nick's interview with her and some of the stuff we got out of it. So what are your thoughts on the season in general this year?
Well, I love Lexi. She's a dear friend.
Canadian Queen.
Canadian Queen. Canadians, you guys rule. I'm sorry. Like, you are the coolest people. My best friend Adam's Canadian. Every day he tells me, Chanel, our motto is not to fight. Because I'm such a New Yorker. I'm like, meet me at the parking lot tomorrow, I'll send you a cease and desist. And he's like, no. That's not what Toronto or Canadian people do.
I am, by the way.
No, I don't want to push that narrative, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, just so you know.
Yeah, we don't take shit. Like,
right.
Use my language, but it's like, and Lexi and her family, they're amazing. We actually were hanging out last night because there was the SNL after party, which hopefully when you're in New York City, I'll take you to.
Okay.
When she was on the podcast, I felt like I just love Lexi because she's so genuine.
Yes.
Lexi on Summer House is who you get off. And I don't feel like that with a lot of the cast members. And I think the interview with me and Lexi, why it was so relatable, and not to make it too much about me, I went through the same thing actually that Lexi went through with Jesse, but because Lexi went through it on national TV, I think why everybody's resonating, the same thing with Scandal, right? With Ariana and Tom Sandoval. Why did it hit home for so many people? Because finally a camera was mirroring and exposing men like this, which I like to say, I hate gossiping and talking shit, but toxic men who are very misogynistic, very sexist, very manipulating, narcissistic. I mean, I can name all the names in the book, gaslighting, just to make themselves look great and then make women like Lexi or Ariana or myself or in general. And I had, by the way, people look back on princesses. I had my own public breakup. I was proud of Lexi that she literally had a voice being on this season and saying, no, I'm not going to scream. I'm not going to yell, but I'm going to confront the situation for what it is. Tell my truth. So at least the audience is smart enough. I just think a lot of men get away with it. And that's why I'm happy in a way that she exposed Jesse for what he was. I don't think it was right what he did to her. I don't think it's nice what he's doing. Like I'm actually over him. Like I don't want him to go back to Bravo. If I had the decision, which I do have listen, I don't have any power, but I have a very good relationship with the executive producers of Summer House because they produce princesses. But what I think about Jesse and Wes, I'm bringing up Wes, is because I think them being new to second season and then acting this arrogant, like they're not going to be replaced.
Right. That's what I was going to say.
Honey, like
0 to 100, these guys, it's like, oh my God, look at this world. But then it became like really important to them, right? Just the way that West and Jesse were talking, like, again, the first season, it was all fun and games, but then it's like, it's how I look to the audience. It's getting camera time. It's West seemed more famous than me. West got more attention than me is what she said is what Lexi said on the Vile Files, right? How Jesse had said, like, West got a lot more famous than me because of the whole situation with Sierra. And while she thought in that moment, oh, that's really nothing. In retrospect, she's like, wait a minute. It sort of seems like this man's priority. Actually, if you think about it, Paige made this exact statement at the reunion last year. She said, we don't live our lives because there's a camera. We live our lives and then there's a camera. And West, your spatial perception is off because all you're worried about is the camera. And he's like, you're right. Well, not you're right, but he nodded. And then we go into the next season where they're exactly doing what Paige said that they should stop doing. You know what I'm saying?
Totally. And I feel like that's dangerous, right? It's like being obsessed with fame. I know we all, obviously, who are in reality TV, we want some attention. But I always say, like, Jesse and Wes remind me of my messy ex. It's like, if you want that much attention, it's a little dangerous because now you start affecting others, right?
Right.
And you can't be ruthless as a human being and as an artist. Like, people aren't stupid. The Bravo audience are very smart. The Bravo podcasters, like you guys, you're very smart. You are detectives more than I'll call them. Like, I could call you and be like, so you got news? And you'll be like, oh, I got evidence and facts, right? And
you give me a first name and I will find you everything about that person.
That's the thing. I don't think he knew. Like, I think it's okay to lie, which I think is disrespectful to the audience. Like, it's first and foremost, it's disrespectful to Lexi. It's disrespectful to Sierra on a separate note. He's also pitting them against each other, which most narcissists do.
Right.
Most men that are childish like that, they play the victim so they can look pretty. And like, I know what his strategy was. Lexi's new. She's the prettiest in the house. She's the youngest. She's the hottest. She has the most potential to be the star. If it doesn't work out, she'll be fine. I won't. So I'm going to make the cast be on my side so we can push her out. And that's tough. Like,
but it seems like that's what happened. Like it really, I don't know if she's going to come back next year, not because Bravo wouldn't ask her, but even post reunion, it really seems like everyone's on Jesse's side, even the girls. We don't know what happened in the reunion, but what do you think about the whole concept of him creating a divide between her and the rest of the girls? Do you think it was on purpose and manipulative?
I think he's very strategic and very calculated. I think one of his fortes, because I dealt with this before with my ex, he plays dumb and plays the victim. Like, do you know the scene that's coming up? I don't know if it was last episode or this coming up episode where you see him, Paige, and Wes, and Kyle, and he talks about Lexi and her family going in the box, and he's like, they're just facts. He's like, Jesse, you know you're not supposed to say this in this preview. And then he goes, well, you know what? It's just facts. It's like he wants to impress Paige. It's like, but you're never going to get Paige.
Right.
So why do you...
Or Sierra.
So why do you need to... Why do you need to have the cost of your relationship with Lexi, who's a good person and who treated you right and did nothing but show you love? So now you're punishing her so that you can look good. But the kicker is the cast might be on his side, but the public doesn't like him. And what I love about Nick Viall is the difference between my interview, I would say, and his interview is that I love Nick because he just goes for it. He's like, I didn't even want Jesse on my podcast after he sent those texts. I'm calling his bluff. I don't even care for him. Like, I wanted to hear more of Lexi's story because to me, she stood out. I mean, I feel like a lot of people liked her. Like, she should come back second season. Like, I'd like to see her stand up to the cast second season and make this like, it's almost like, I love Sierra and Paige and Amanda, but when they're together, they're kind of like the mean girls. And that's not a good example of society, in my opinion.
And it's also like when we look at this show and the trajectory of how it's always gone, we do start to try to integrate some newer, younger people so that the show can kind of go on. And it hasn't always worked. We've seen a lot of people come in and out. Alex, Sam, Jules, other randoms, right? That sort of haven't worked. And what actually just came to me, what really impresses me with Lexi is how she sort of came in with someone. She came in with Bailey, even though they'd only met once, according to the Nick Viall interview. She came in with her, then lost her, but still really held her own. Like, I don't want to call it screen time, but look at all the screen time and look at the story that she got on her own just by being her genuine self, right? While Wes, it's his second season, and I don't think he got half the confessionals. I've never met Wes' mom and sister, if he has them, right? Like, we got a lot more of Lexi. She had a lot more story than people give her credit for. And there was something else that was mentioned in the Viall files that I thought was interesting. The whole concept of like the ditzy and making her seem like she was stupid at the beginning definitely set a trend and a trajectory for how the audience was looking at her. Because, first of all, the ACT is not a test that exists in Canada, for example. Okay. So I just want to make that known that whether or not she's an idiot, it doesn't exist here in this country. So she would not be eligible to take it. So when he's making these comments and just the way he even did it too, where he was like, oh, I want to push you to the edge. I want to see like how far I can push you and then pull back. Aw, who's going to date someone like that? That's a disgusting thing to say. Like, I want to see how far I can push a girl. But yeah, the whole concept about her intellect and who she is as a person, it definitely, I think she speaks extremely eloquently. I think she's extremely intelligent. And I think he sort of set the mindset and the tone for the house and the audience for her intelligence level, which she then had to be like, nah, I'm actually extremely smart. Let me show you how,
Yeah. She is. She's brilliant. She's very intelligent. And I got to say, and people are not going to like me for saying it, I don't care anymore. It's taboo. I think they're all jealous of her. And that's what that's what we're not talking about. That's the thing that I feel like we're missing. It's like this beautiful, genuine, like you're saying, authentic. We're all seeing it. She's authentic. She's genuine. She's speaking from her heart. All she's saying is, and by the way, the whole like following girls, liking girls' pictures. I went through this with my ex. He would literally tell people, Chanel's crazy. She's insecure. And I was like, no, you guys are not getting it. When they have flying monkeys, like these other pick-me girls, I call them, the women that will still believe everything you say. I don't know for what. I don't know what that deal is. Because women should just stick by women in general and say, look, Chanel or Lexi or Dana, you have a problem with a man. We're by your side no matter what.
Right.
doesn't matter what anybody says. Like, we're by your side.
Yeah.
That's what concerns me, is like that he had to strategize because he knew she was smart and he was jealous of her, instead of taking that power and making themselves a power couple and including her with the friend group. Like, what would be the big deal to be like, hey, Lexi, come with me and Paige, or hey, Lexi, come with me and Sierra and hang out. Like, you should do that for somebody you really like.
Right.
So I do feel this was meditated. I feel it was strategized. I feel like it was mean. And I think that they're all very jealous of her and think that because she held her own, like you said, because she came out strong with a great storyline, I think they're intimidated by it. And so what people do in general is they're cutthroat. And that's kind of, I'm not going to lie, I hate to say this, I'm a little over Sierra too. And she to get it a little bit. Like, you can't come into Summer House or anything in Bravo when they have fed you a platform and then pretend like you're better than it or you're over it. It's like, she was just, I liked her better when she came in as Luke's friend, when she was the nurse, when she was kind. And then I feel like ever since she got very close with Paige and Amanda, it's like when she's in the trio, she's like a different person. But, or like when Hannah was on it, which we're going to talk about that because that's like another disaster. But I just feel like the girls should also take more ownership and like, you know, that you're being a certain way, like stop being that way. Like, you're all grown. So I just feel like they could have rallied around Lexi a little bit more. They could have had more of a friendship. Like, I was a little disappointed with Amanda. I do love her. I think she's great. But I think she could have been like a better friend to Lexi.
She could have, but in the past couple of episodes, it seems like she did just start to come around.
That's why that's why.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, finally, like Amanda, like let's have it. So, and then she was like, okay, let's find out what's really going on. She hears Lexi out. And then she finally sort of comes into becoming a girl's girl a little bit. But I feel like, and again, it's just sort of the sense I get. We haven't seen the reunion. We haven't seen the rest. But the sense that I'm getting is that everyone, including the girls, are Team Jesse. And I'm just sort of curious what happened there and sort of how it led to that. Because yes, you've known him longer, but not that much longer. Like, you've known him a year, right? And like, it's not.
I think he manipulates behind the scenes and I think he manipulates in front of the scenes. And I think he's got it. I know the people he's grown up with. And I think because he's gone away with it his entire life, he's never been held accountable, and there's never been cameras, right? So he always thought, get away with everything, you know, anything I want. And by the way, I do, my heart goes out to him. He suffered from cancer. He came a long way. But I always say, like, especially if you go through something so hard, like I lost my cousin to cancer, you have to become like a better person.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
You can't just expect people to treat you well because you went through something bad if you're still a piece of shit.
Yeah, exactly. And I just believe he manipulated the women. I also think women, for some reason, like his attention, which is so weird because we're not talking about it here, you know? Like, we're not talking about Keanu Reeves, like or who's younger, Gen Z. Like, we're not talking about Timothy Chalamet, you know? It's just kind of, that's why I truly believe he's manipulated. You have to manipulate behind the scenes so much to get what you want. And that's what I like the fact that him and Sierra are even hanging out. Like, I don't, like, what happened to her telling him last episode, I'm over you. I'm over you. You're making me look. I was like, yes, Sierra, I was rooting for her. I was like, you are the smart girl that I know. You are seeing through it. You're not going to go against Lexi for him. So that's where I'm like still trying to figure out I don't even know why I'm saying I'm trying to figure out, because this happened with, like, my ex literally did this. He's currently with other women like this that feed into him. But the joke's on these people because they keep this toxic circle. And I believe they're all going to turn on Jesse next season. I believe they're all out everything and they're all going to turn on him if they care enough, you know?
Yeah.
What do you think it is? I'm interested also in your opinion. Like, why do you think they're on his side? Like, how does that happen?
I think he's a good manipulator, and it's the silliness. And it's easier to be friends with someone who is just, well, I'm trying to think from their perspective, right? I'm trying to think like, we want to be on this show. And don't you ever notice that in every episode, the theme or the point seems to be to have the most fun. So if you are someone who, I don't know, wants to have a deep conversation, well, then you're not being the most fun, and I'm not going to be able to have the most fun today at this party. So I think maybe while she's right and she's deep, I think maybe this is a group that maybe isn't interested in getting deep and just wants to be around other people who are just going to make this easy and fun. You know what I mean?
Nailed it. I didn't know how to articulate it as well. You really nailed it. And I feel like I shared that also on my podcast, like, because I was like, she's so nice and genuine. Wouldn't you want to pick the nice girl that's like, you know, she's going to be there for you, you know, she's loyal. But like you're saying, I guess people like that like to stick together where they don't appreciate that. They just want light and fun and they don't care if there's manipulation.
Well, she was light and fun, but I think if she hadn't been with Jesse, there wouldn't have been the manipulation. So she would have just been light and fun because we wouldn't have seen her in a contentious relationship. I mean, it's almost like if anyone had come in, anyone, I mean, if Paige had come in this
Right.
season and the whole season had been just her crying about Craig, then that's what this season would have been about. And if that was her first season, that's all we would have gotten to know about her. And we'd be like, wow, what a downer, right? So we're not necessarily seeing the lightest side of Lexi. We saw lots of it, but we also saw, well, we saw a full rounded Lexi, which I prefer. I prefer to see someone, all sides of them. But maybe for the cast and for the sense of like the ease of moving forward, they just feel like this girl's a problem,
And that's what I have a problem with, because for the record, Lexi Wood is one of the most light and fun kindest human beings you'll ever meet. I feel like Bravo needs her because it's almost like, even though they're not that deep, this cast, it's kind of getting a little dark with Jesse involved because so many women are relating to their traumatizing experiences that I don't think, as much as it's not that serious, it's like scandal. Like, I don't think there's room for someone like that to continue. Like, why would we want to watch Jesse being like that?
I mean, oh God, we could go down a whole road because there's Jax Taylor, there's all these things, but
Jax,
I think, sorry?
At least Jax owns it, right? Isn't it a little messier that Jesse?
I can't believe we're saying that, but yeah. At least Jax is a better person than Jesse Sullivan.
Shitty. It's so funny. I was having a debate with my friend the other day because he's like, so who do you think is more dangerous? I'm like, I guess Jesse, because Jesse literally in one of the scenes, even with Kyle, Paige, and I think it was Wes, when they were like, how is it with you and Lexi? And then he started blaming Sierra, and then Kyle put place.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't even realize that he's just lying. It's
more dangerous. Yeah.
It's so dangerous because you think this guy is nice to you, and then he'll like stab you in the back. And I even hate talking like that because, he's a fellow Jew. But I just want him to get his act together because I don't agree. And I do think the women want the attention. I'm still trying to figure out why. I guess his attention makes them feel good. But like what Sierra said in one of the episodes, I thought she doesn't need his attention.
Yeah, like if I were me, like I don't look like Sierra, so men don't approach me in the same way, but I wouldn't like that. I would be like, I wouldn't, it's very obvious to me that he's all over her because she's hot, right? It would bother me. I'd be like, how about you look up here, right? How about we have a conversation? Right. Stop touching me all the time. I would know he's doing it because he likes touching me, right? Like it would bother me because it's like, can we have a conversation with my brain? I don't like the fact that, and I don't know if you notice this, and it could be something I'm making up, but do you notice that for these parties, she really, really goes all out, 100% dresses up. And I think the reason that she does it is to desexualize herself. Because like, if you look at like the bird costume, I mean, she doesn't look sexual at all, right? She looks like a freaking bird to the nth degree. And I think she does it because she spends most of her time being so sexual. And I don't mean any way towards her. I mean, because she is a model and because she is so beautiful. So people tend to just look at her and sexualize her. So I feel like anytime she gets an opportunity to be like, let me cover it up, and so I can just be, I think she really takes that opportunity.
Yeah. And I love that about her. And that's why I feel like it's not, and I want to take back, it's not that I'm over her. I just was disappointed because I expected, I think, more.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Right? I feel like Sierra has a kind heart. She is vulnerable. She is, even in the scene that we see when Wes finally opens up that he lost his best friend, and she really was there for him. I know she's a loyal person. I know she's a great person. That's why I think I'm overprotective. See, it's Jesse's the problem. And so
they always are, men.
They always are. Like, that's why I'm 40 and still single. But I'm like,
hey,
I'm not that age, but okay. You're like, they're so young. But, I just feel like that's where I'm nervous. And I want Lexi and Sierra to have a stronger bond together so that can expose that to Jesse. So also Jesse learns, like, this is not okay. So he can become a better person. It's not about like, oh, gotcha, you're bad or this. It's more like I expected more from them.
Yeah, like a learning experience. And that's why, like, I really appreciated that she had the conversation with everyone in the kitchen so that everyone could be a part of the conversation to see. And he took it as like an attack, which it's not. It's like, we just want you to be better. We just want you to see how you're acting, how it's making me feel, and adjust accordingly, right? But he doesn't want to be seen as bad in any way. And In fairness, probably because he saw the backlash that Wes got and was like, holy crap, right? And everyone is afraid a little bit of being the next scandal. But I think we should move on.
Yeah.
I would really love to talk to you about RHONY because you are a New York gal, and we got like literal whiplash this week when it comes to RHONY. First, we're told it's done, it's donezo, it's on pause. Then we're told no, that's not happening. Then we're told okay, casting is happening, filming might be happening in the fall. We've heard Lindsay Hubbard is tested. We've heard other people might be coming to the cast. What are your thoughts on RHONY in general? I mean, it's where you live. It's sort of like your happy place, but at the same time, we've seen so many versions of it. We've seen one good, then it became bad, then we've seen this like dumpster truck. Where do you think it can go? How do you feel about RHONY?
So I have some exclusive. I did
Ooh.
think it canceled, so I posted something and blamed Brynn Whitfield for it because she.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Usually I'm really nice, but I love the rest
No,
of the
she's the worst. Yeah.
posted. Jessel Tank, who's a dear friend of mine who I love very much, was like, "Oh, babe, it's not true." So did Lions. So I don't personally believe. Now I can't guarantee or confirm, but I don't believe it's canceled. No matter what they're saying or the blogs are saying, I don't think RHONY's canceled. I think right now, yes, it might be on pause, but I think they're currently trying to cast. Because to me, I don't see them not salvaging one of the staple like franchises that, like you said, in a New York girl or New York women, New York women can relate to. I know that it's one of my favorite franchises. I did enjoy this new
You
cast
did.
in 3 seasons. I just thought last season was getting a little too, again, dark. I don't feel like, even though Bryn's a villain, you can have certain villains on reality TV, but when it becomes too much of a moral, ethical, like you're crossing the boundary where now you feel triggered, now you feel like I can't really be on board with this person, and she's affecting the rest of the cast, clearly, that's where I'm like, okay, we need some newbies. Like, we need some new blood.
So that's what you feel. Do you feel that it should be a mixture of the new cast that we already have with a few new people, or do you feel we just need to restart with a whole new cast again?
I would love to see, no, that I would really love to see Erin, Jenna, and Jessel back.
Okay.
Those three main, and then I would love to really see them with OGs. Like, I think
I love that.
A better mix, and that's where you're going to get more of story. Or you can, I mean, newbies, the problem with that is like you get invested in these new stories and then sometimes they don't stick. So it's about like finding the people that have an authentic relationship and really
Right.
storylines,
That's the hard part, especially on housewives shows. I mean, it's so obvious sometimes that these people haven't spoken since the last time they filmed, and I hate that, right? I feel the shows that we enjoy the best are the ones where there's the organic relationships, where a lot of stuff is happening when they're not filming.
Yeah.
What do you think about the Lindsay Hubbard of it all? Because Lindsay Hubbard feels that she is great TV and that Bravo should be finding a place for her. Now, it's never actually been done, right? We always talk in interviews about like, what show would you go on if you were to ever cross over? It's literally never been done except Taylor Armstrong as like a friend of. Other than that, I mean, I'm sort of not against the idea. I'm not a person who's like, you have to be a wife and you have to be this and you have to be that.
Right.
Personally, I find Summer House, like my favorite scenes of Summer House are the scenes in the city. I love watching them in the city. I know that's not the point of the show. And I know sometimes we get so bogged down in like the archetype of what the show is supposed to be. But what do you think about the Lindsay Hubbards and the Paige DeSorbos maybe growing out of that show and possibly being a fit for a New York housewife show? Or do you feel like those girls aren't the right fit?
So that's a great, first of all, I love Lindsay Hubbard, one of my favorite people in life. She should be part of Real Housewives of New York. I would love to see her in the mix with like an Erin, a Jessel, and a Jenna. You know what? Even if you want to bring Brynn for one last season so she can knock Brynn out of the park. You know what I mean? Things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or I think that I also love to see them in the city. I just don't know. For some reason, it hasn't worked for Bravo. Like filming only in the city with people, except for the New York Housewives. And if you see that, you see them still going on trips. You still see them going to the Hamptons. Like, I would like to see them too. I just don't know if Paige and Sierra would be a good fit because I feel like they still have maybe 1 or 2 seasons left in them in Summer House.
I agree. And now that I think about it, Paige is, I don't want to call her immature. That's probably not the right word, but she's very tight with her mom and in that sort of like, I don't even know how to explain that without people getting mad at me. Just still in that stage of life where she's still young enough that her parents are very involved in her day to day, as opposed to you having your own separate, independent family and life, which is what Housewives more so is. Does that make
Yes,
sense?
makes so much sense. And also, like, she has her podcast that's
Right.
really, stepping up and going viral. And I think she's just in a different mindset where
Mhm.
I don't see her. Look, I think she would be a great housewife, but then doesn't that become Summer House again? You know what I mean? If you see the same,
The thing is, though, we like I said, we
right,
get bogged. I mean, there's two things. There's what the show is supposed to be. Like Vanderpump Rules is supposed to be a show about a bunch of people who work at a restaurant under Lisa Vanderpump's employ.
right,
After many years, do we actually care about the restaurant? No, we care about the people. However, Bravo's like, you know what? We're going to assume you care about the actual concept, and we're just going to put all these people you've never met before back in the original concept. Are we going to love it? No. So we do end up becoming obsessed with our people, right? And we want to follow our people. I want to know what Lindsay does until the day that she dies. I don't care on what show that is. It may not be the right quote unquote fit, but then make a fit. Call it the Lindsay and Paige show. Call it whatever you want to call it. But I still want to. Kyle's in his 40s, but I still want to see him. Is he probably aging out of the idea of a summer house? Sure. But I still want to know what's going on with them until literally they're 90 years old.
no,
Like,
same.
I'm
That's right.
invested.
I think they could carry their own show. I really do. I think they're such great characters. I think they also, all of them, I know them in real life, they're all genuine. So they can definitely, Lindsay with her motherhood and like what she's doing in the city and how she's, hustling and working as, a single mother, but I know she's in a relationship with her man. Kyle too and Amanda with kids. Like I believe Kyle and Amanda should have a spinoff. I'm I'm
I would
I'm ready,
love that.
I'm ready for that journey. All about
Yeah.
her getting pregnant, not getting pregnant, how hard it is, how easy it is. His DJ career, them
Yeah.
on the road. Like they have a lot. I love both of them. I think that they would do great even just on their own.
Yeah.
And if Lindsay was in and out, but Lindsay also I think could carry her own. I would love to see the Lindsay on the Real Housewives of New York City.
I think she would be a good fit. And even if she wasn't, she would make herself a good fit because she's a hard worker. She's she's a boss bitch. She'll make it work. I want to move on to The Bachelor, and I know that's not typically your forte, or I'm not quite sure if it is, but do you know the lore of Clayton Echard and what's been going on with him and this woman who has accused him of like getting her pregnant when they never had sex? Do you know this story?
Yeah, I heard of this story, and then I was trying to like get my own evidence, like if there is any, because it's hard to prove this stuff. I love The Bachelor,
Mhm.
definitely avid watcher. Obviously, sometimes in and out, but I think that this is a very hard situation because obviously you want to believe women, but if they didn't have sex and she's saying she's pregnant, sometimes women will do this for their whatever we don't know that's happening that happened behind the scenes with them for some reason. She's, I believe, taking revenge, maybe. But
Um,
say
yeah,
that.
I don't know like the whole, I mean, I don't think we'll ever know like why she did this, but you make such an excellent point, which is the point that I want to make, which is like, I mean, this isn't sexual abuse, but it sort of reminds me of the same vein of like women making things up when women are so non-believed for so much of our existence, right? We've gone our entire existence being like, don't believe women. But if a woman says that she was raped, she's a liar. And so again, while this isn't that, it's sort of along the same veins of lying about a pregnancy and going to these lengths. It sets women back so many years. And so I was sort of keeping up with the case while it was going on. There's so many people who did so many amazing recaps of it, like the Bravo docket, and there's this other guy, Dave Neal, who's very into the Bachelor world. He's a YouTuber. But basically, yeah, this woman tried to ruin his life. He he answers a DM from someone because he was a real estate agent at the time. He answers a DM from someone who wanted to see a house. They kind of hook up, but it was just a blowjob. That's the funny part. And I guess somehow, but men are so dumb. Plus, she's saying like here's a what do you call it? No, I'm like losing it. No, what's the sonogram? Here's a sonogram, right? And he's like, is this possible? Could she have like taken the sperm from like the floor or wherever it went and then put it into herself, right? He's doing all of this. He ends up spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. He finds out, I think it was through Reddit, that I think a lot of Redditors were actually trying to help him, that there was four other men who had been through this as well. And what she ended up doing, if I recall correctly, and I don't recall all the details because the whole thing is so insane, but she claimed that she was pregnant with twins. And the reason she probably did that, according to like legal experts, is because you can't confirm the paternity of twins. It's like a thing. It would always come up inconclusive. So to say twins would just lead down the path of like more inconclusive, more inconclusive. And then eventually he she ends up getting charged a few days ago. So I just want to read like some
Yeah.
of what these charges are because this whole thing is so insane. So yeah, a paternity test had confirmed that he had not fathered the unborn twins. It was 5 months of torture. She later dropped the suit, alleged that she had miscarried the twins, which there was no evidence of later. But now she's been indicted on 7 felony charges. Because she made several inconsistent statements during a paternity hearing involving Echard between May 2023 and June 2024. She altered an ultrasound image, fabricated a pregnancy video, and lied multiple times under oath. She was indicted by a grand jury on 4 counts of perjury, 1 count of forgery, 1 count of tampering with physical evidence, and 1 count of fraudulent schemes and artifices. And this just came out just now before we recorded. Breaking news. We have received information that Laura Owens, which is the name of this woman, allegedly ordered injectable HCG and had it delivered to her home via courier and allegedly requested that there be absolutely no information on the box. Now, HCG is a hormone. I'm not even fully sure what it is. So would it, do you know? Do you know? So if you inject it into yourself, would it make you appear pregnant? Is that what you think that means?
I don't know 100%, but from what I've learned, it's basically like, let's say you injected yourself, you're at your prime of hormones, you take a pregnancy test, it could say positive. It could be a false positive. Because my gyno has told me, there's times where like, I'm like, wait, I haven't even been intimate, but I haven't got my period. And like, let's say you take a pregnancy test, I know that literally a doctor would say, sometimes if your hormone levels are high, it could be a false positive. And the fact that I don't know why she would inject something like that, knowing, you know what I mean? It's almost like she was strategizing. And it's interesting.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, obviously. But I hate that. And I hate the fact that, like, right, she's setting women back a lot. Maybe she had a vendetta or maybe a real reason because he treated her badly.
But she's done this to 4 guys. And like, and she did a bunch of weird other stuff where she was like, if you date me for 2 weeks, I'll get an abortion if you promise to whatever. And he even went to her mom and was like, is she well? Because I'm not, like trying to get help from like the back end. And her mom was like, you're treating her like crap. You should be giving her money for this baby. And he's like, so I don't know if this is like this long game with her entire family or whether, I mean, there's all these crazy people like the Scamanda. Do you know that case? The woman who faked cancer. And like it was never clear if her family was in on it, whether her husband knew. I mean, he must know that she did actually have cancer. He was never charged or indicted or anything. But like,
so funny because I worked
what's going on with the other people who live in the house? You know what I'm saying? So it's just like we said, it just sets women back so far. This whole thing is just such, I can't even imagine going through a nightmare like this because, and I applaud him for actually really going the distance and, legally and making sure that this woman got what she deserved because you Google Clayton Echard for a while, this was the first thing that came up. They didn't even have sex. And the way the media can portray something or the way a person can portray something can make you look like a fucking monster. And while I hate white men, and I cannot even believe I'm defending this person, he did nothing wrong. She abused the legal system. Look at all the people that actually can't get pregnant and go through all of these things and miscarry for real. Or all the women who do have to go to court for the man who knocked them up, who won't give them any money for real, right? It's just such a disgusting thing to have happened. So very rarely does the legal system do what it's supposed to do, but like brava to the people who have charged her, and I'm glad that she is being indicted.
I agree because that's what I wanted to say. I think a lot of us forget, especially like reality stars too, like you have legal rights, right? Like you should stand up for yourself. You should protect yourself at all costs, even if you're scared that it might not go in your favor. If you know you're telling the truth, I always say for your reputation, if you worked really hard, you go for it. Like for me,
but sometimes you can't afford to do so, right? Like, I mean, it's not always that situation. I mean, like, if I want to be honest, I was just telling you very briefly, but I had a job last year where it was going really badly. And did I have enough stuff to sue them all? Yes. But could I ever afford to? No, I don't have a dollar to my name and I can't.
I know what you mean. Like being realistic. You're right. Like we have to sometimes be like, okay, like, right. Kudos to him that he did have the money to go through it. But I want everyone to realize, look at I don't mean to bring another case up, but Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively, even though they have a lot of money, look how much money you have to spend. I don't think people realize that the legal system is based on making money. So not in your favor, but happy he got at least in his favor, the justice. She needs to learn her lesson. Like you can't keep lying to people to get
I don't know if she's unwell. Like what is it? She has to be unwell
I was
I
gonna say
can't think of any other reason.
I didn't want to say that. Something has, and I'm shocked she didn't talk about it. Probably because the Bachelor, they take an intake form, like for their.
No, she wasn't on The Bachelor. This
No,
is someone he met after.
Right, but I'm saying, right. But I'm saying in general, he didn't ask her. Like, I'm thinking because he was like, he didn't ask her, like, did you ever go like through psychiatric medication? Like,
Well,
usually,
I think when he spoke to her mom, he thought that was gonna, he thought that she was gonna be like, listen, she's unwell, like, don't worry about it. But the mom was like all on her side. So I don't think anyone knows whether she's okay or not.
it seems like either a scam or she's not okay. And that's really
Yeah,
sad.
or both.
Or there's something missing that we also all don't know, that she must have had to go through all this trouble to say, you know what, I might have not had proof that he did this A, B, and C to me, but
Yeah.
I'm going to make his life hell. That's sometimes how women can, or people in general can think. It's sad. I mean, thank God he got justice. That's one thing that I'm happy. I'm all for justice.
Justice for white men. Okay.
Justice for white
Okay.
men. I know we don't like them, but we love them.
All right, so let's move on to our 4 new Bravo shows that we found out about this week. So we got a Real Housewives of Rhode Island. Where's Rhode Island?
Okay, Rhode Island is literally, I would say, an hour away from Boston. If that makes graphical sense to you. So it's on the east. It's like it's a beautiful, oh my God, if you got to check it out. It's literally, think of the Hamptons, like a small island, but richer and prettier, if that makes any sense.
Okay, very rich. The only people I know there, quote unquote, is Ashley I from The Bachelor. Which is funny because, like, I don't think she's on this show, but wouldn't she be an amazing fit? That girl cries constantly.
I would love for them to switch, like, those kind of be like, if someone on The Bachelor, like, you bring them on Housewives and to like, because Rhode Island, that's why I think Andy Cohen's really excited for it. It is going to be like it's going to be like the OC season 1, where you couldn't take your eyes off like a train wreck, but all this money, like this genuine real money. So I think the glitz and the glam is going to pull the audience in. It's a small town. So like, I believe it's called Newport. There's a Newport Beach in Rhode Island. It's kind of like the Shishi town.
Okay.
Island. So I'm excited.
Do you think it'll be good?
I think it's going to be good. I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be new for us, like a new obsession, a new thing to check out. But I also feel like at some point, I think they should take a break on some of the Housewife franchises and kind of develop newer shows,
Well, we got the Valley Persian style. So that is a newer kind of show. Now, I personally have never watched Shahs of Sunset, so I know who Reza is. I know who Gigi is. Do you know who those people are in terms of, like, I don't mean in real life. I mean, like, did you watch that show? Would you be interested in a Valley style, Persian style?
I guess I was like, yeah, because I'm like, they were really witty to push it in a different, publicity or marketing sense. Look, I wanted to see those 3 moving forward. Like, I want to see where they are, what they're doing. They're great. They're great characters. So I'm excited for that, so that they're back on TV. We can see what happens. I'm also interested to see who are the other castmates on the Valley, because I love the Valley. I did not expect the Valley to be
so good.
Thing
I did.
You did? Because
Kristen Doute is a fucking amazing reality TV star, and so is Jax. And everyone else we didn't know whether they would know how to fall in line, but they did. They all knew how to do the job well, and it's just because they've been around it, I guess. But I was very excited about it going in, and I wasn't wrong.
Yeah, no, it's
but
great.
Yeah, so I guess I like the idea of people in like their 40s and seeing what, that's our age group. I want to see what's going on in your general day to day. But I guess just personally, because I'm not personally invested with those people, maybe I'd have to go back and watch Shaw's, because to me, that just is a show about 3 people I don't really know.
Right, exactly. Like, I feel like you have to really watch Shaw's if you're into it. But I do think Reza will bring it. I think the 3 of them, Reza and Gigi, will bring it the same way Kristen Doute and Jax and Brittany are bringing it. Like, I thought the Valley would remind me of Vanderpump, but it doesn't really. It's kind of, like, if you think about it, you can tune in not knowing what happened on Vanderpump and still feel like it's a new show, right?
Yeah.
Or like Brittany and Jax is new to you. It's so weird. I can't explain it.
That's a good point. So maybe I will try to see if I can go into the Valley Persian.
I think you'll enjoy
it's called without a background, because I want to see if I can like those characters on their own without their backstory.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. And then we have Ladies of London, which is unfortunately another show I've never seen, but I heard the previous Ladies of London was amazing. I don't know if that had to do with Caroline Stanbury, who is obviously now in Dubai, and obviously I don't think we'll be coming back to London. But like, was that a show you ever watch, and is that something you're excited about?
Yes, I love that show. It was a great show. I just wish they brought back the originals from
The
Ladies
original cast. Okay.
because that's why we loved it. So the original cast was great. Carolyn Stansberry, I forget their names. They were a great they were a great cast. They kind of remind me of the Real Housewives of New York season 1, where it was just like all authentic and just a lot of drama. So for me, I just would have loved to see them return and just push on forward, not like a whole new Ladies of London. Also, why don't they just call it the Real Housewives of London? Because now they're doing the Real Housewives of London and Ladies of London, and I feel like it's not really a different show.
Okay, so it's not. That's what I was going to ask. Is there a difference?
Not really, because if you look back at Ladies of London, yeah, it's more like I guess the concept is more like they're royalty and proper, but it's still like the Real Housewives of it's still the same the way the Real Housewives franchise operates, I would say.
So it's interesting. They're giving us a lot of shows that we've already had, but with new cast, because they seem to be convinced, which they're wrong about, that we like concepts better than the people.
Right, but we
just want to follow the people. Call the show whatever, but I want to follow Kyle Cook until he's 95. I want to see him DJing anyway. And then we've got a wife swap, The Real Housewives. Now, I don't know what this is. I heard it might be like Melissa and Joe Gorga, like splitting up, not splitting up for real, but going to like live with another and just being like, I'm going to cook for this family, Italian, and they're used to this. That sounds odd. I don't know. What do you think of that?
Right. I think it could be a cool like obsession, because it's almost like seeing Gorga being a housewife for someone else. And then say Jill Zarin being a housewife. It's kind of going to be interesting, the dynamics of it's depending on who they cast, right?
Yeah.
Different families and different characters. It would be interesting to see these characters who already have been OGs on TV react. So I think it could be an interesting concept. I mean, I don't know if they're bringing Girls Trip, but I feel like
I think they can't because of what happened. And so now they're trying to come up with new ideas.
Wait,
and
that real?
Well, because of the Girls Trip, the one that they could never air, the Monaco one, I think because of it, I think they're just never going to do it again because of the legality of the last one. That doesn't mean you can't do a show exactly the same and call it something else, but I just don't think they're ever going to do Ultimate Girls Trip again.
So correct me if I'm wrong, because this I never understood, and I always tried to get an answer, but not the right one. How come with some shows, like New Jersey, excuse me, the Real Housewives of New Jersey, they had a lot of legalities, a lot of like boundaries pushed, but were able to get away with it and not affect the show. Why do you think with some shows, a legality thing will like ruin it or take it off the air? Like that's what I'm trying to.
I think in this particular case, it was because it was things that had been filmed that were specifically being alleged. Like there was, I think Caroline, what's her last name? Manzo was suing Bravo, or is suing Bravo specifically for the and production for allowing it to happen while continuing to literally hold up a camera while allegedly Brandy is like touching her and she's screaming, stop, stop, and a camera is still there. So because it's literally about what was on film and that film then becomes part of the court case, I think we can't watch it. And so I think it's a little bit different. While like something with like Vanderpump Rules, while, showing a naked picture of Raquel, whatever, all that happened off camera. Then you have the Kenya thing where it sort of did happen on camera. We did investigate and get rid of her, right? So I think that's why it is sort of case by case. But I think because this is about what actually happened on film by producers. Allegedly.
It's a liability. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
And by the way, though, which Carolyn Manzo and a lot of these women who are standing up, yes, they have a point. The thing what I want people to understand, though, because when I signed up for reality TV, it's not that the producers are being malicious, but it really is their job to pretend they're a fly on the wall and film whatever's going on. But what they should be doing responsibly, I personally believe, is having security and aid there. So if they are filming, you are allowed to sidetrack and say, hey, she doesn't feel comfortable. I need you to step in. Once she feels comfortable again, let's start filming her confession. Let's start filming how she felt about it. That's where I think they have to just be a little bit more, because they're so smart that they can and they have the resources. That's what I don't get. So it's just like,
I think what might have happened and why it's different is like, if you look at a show like Jersey Shore, you do have security come out of the woodwork if a fight breaks out because you don't want someone to get hurt. Yeah. While what happened here, is very nuanced, and it may not have been as obvious that someone is being hurt in the same way where it's like, go, go, get security, security, security. You know what I mean? So I think we're getting a little off, but off track. But like, you know what I mean? I think that may have been a little bit of the difference where I think there is usually security. Like if two women start punching each other in the face, people will come out. I mean, we've seen that on Potomac, right?
Right.
Where Monique and I forget her name, but you know what I'm saying, right? Like, and we had to have all of production come out and like because we had broken glass and all of that, right? So, you know, I wanted to talk to you about VPR in the Valley though, because I'm curious your thoughts on this Lala Kent and what's the other one? Kristen Doute feud, because they finally made up, and I'm really happy about that because I think not being a mother, but I think people who experience a motherhood have such a great connection to each other, plus just being on the same show. And I don't know if you remember exactly what had happened with Lala and Kristen, what's wrong with me? I'm having pregnancy brain. I'm not pregnant. But yeah, it was like this weird ass situation where shout out to Zach Peter, great podcaster. He was doing a live show. Gigi was there. I think Reza was there. Kristen Doute was there, and she was pregnant at the time. And this was the period of time right before she had miscarried. And so I think Gigi was making some really negative comments about Lala on this live show. And there was clips that had gone out at the time where it sort of looked like while Gigi's talking shit about Lala, it looked like Kristen was laughing. She was just sort of turning away, and it wasn't at that exact moment. And in all fairness, it's like it's a live show. What do you want her to do? Even Zach Peter was like trying to wrangle in the situation. He's like, well, Gigi, do you think maybe ever you could become friends with Lala? Do you think maybe motherhood could bring you together? Whatever it was. And Lala was just like, fuck it, I'm not going to be friends with Kristen anymore. And we've seen Lala over the past couple of years really just throw people away like they're garbage. And so we did have, actually, just before I recorded, Kristen came out on her podcast and explained what happened between her and Lala. And Lala also explained it on her podcast that they have this mutual friend, Meredith, who is Ariana's best friend, who um, was giving birth on her own as well. She did a donor with her gay best friend. So she's going sort of through the motherhood journey in a similar way to Lala. And Lala was having the baby shower at her house, and Kristen was like, "Listen, I really want to come. I'm very close with Meredith. Can we be friends again? Can we get this shit together?" And I'm actually really proud of Lala because, like I said, she's been such a bitch for the past couple of years, but she really came out on her podcast and was like, "I was in a place where I was like dukes up." You know, I was just so worried about my custody situation. Anyone that sort of I felt was like crossing my path, even the littlest bit, I just didn't want any negativity in my life. I was just willing to cut anyone. I just wanted my circle tight, and I was just so scared with what I was going through, and my bad. And I was just really impressed with her for being like, I was a bitch. I stopped being friends with her for no good reason. And, you know, I'm impressed with that a little bit. We don't give Lala that much credit anymore because she's again been such a hard person to love lately. But I'm impressed with that, the accountability.
I am impressed with that too. I love the one thing I can't get mad at Lala about is because at the end of the day, she will take accountability. She will say, "Okay, you know what? I am wrong." She's strong. There's of course trauma in her life, I believe, to why she's become that way, and she's so guarded. But I am inspired that she's like, you know what? I'm turning a new leaf. I'm growing up. I get that I did a lot of immature shit. I said a lot of mean things. And now, or I had ego go, the arrogance with her a lot in a lot of past seasons. I'm proud that she owned it because I do think
Kristen, own it.
Yeah, own it. And also Kristen Doute deserved better. Like,
that's what Kristen Doute.
I love her. Like, I feel for Kristen. I think she was underestimated. I think she doesn't get a lot of credit that she deserves, that she really 100%. Is a loyal person. And I also think that Kristen Doute was there for Lala a lot. So for Lala to admit, yeah, let's put bygones be bygones. Now it's interesting that Lala's saying this now that Vanderpump's over and she needs the Valley. But I don't want to say that necessarily because I don't want to say Lala does that, even though I don't blame her for that. Like when she even said in the reunion, I need a paycheck. Like she's right. Like this is what they do. This is how they pay their bills. And I don't think they should be punished for those past mistakes. So yeah, I think it's good that she admitted it.
Well, LVP has been doing some interviews lately because she has her star show Vanderpump Villa out, which is you love this show.
I started. I thought I did not was gonna like it, and then one day I was so bored. There was nothing on TV. I start.
Yes.
And then I'm like, wait a minute. This is Summer House meets Vanderpump Rules meets now the Villa, and the Bachelor. It's giving all this. So when you put all those concepts in one with these characters, I mean, you're bound to win. Like someone has to go home every week. Like it keeps toes, and Stassi is part of it.
Stassi. Yeah. Stassi is like obsessed. I actually met her in real life right before her cancellation. It was like a really big deal for me. And I actually was like, she was very nice. She had a wardrobe malfunction. She was coming here to do a live show, like one of her live podcast shows. And I think her shirt ripped or her skirt ripped. And Beau had to go back to the hotel and get her like a different outfit. And so the show was taking so long to start, but we didn't know why. And then we knew. So I was just like, oh, I got to pee. So I'm like walking down the aisle to like go to the bathroom. And Beau's coming back in and his hat is down and he's like brushed up against my arm. I'm like, oh my God. So it was, yeah, very exciting moment for me. But yeah, Vanderpump Villa. It was okay. I loved the Stassi of it all. I just loved having her back on our screens, the nostalgia, all of it. And like Lisa Vanderpump, she is, she is an enigma, right? I mean, she did sort of create this entire world, but I do kind of think that she holds it over everyone's heads. And we're all in an interesting place now. Where all of these people are sort of no longer under her wing, under her employ, and they are sort of speaking their minds. And so Lisa's been doing a lot of interviews. She hasn't really been saying much about like no one's asked her about the Ali Luber stuff, which I think is because no one's allowed to ask her about it, right? Like she's doing Watch What Happens Live, she's doing interviews, but not about any of the stuff that we're sort of concerned about, not about James Kennedy. But she does seem to have words about like Sheena and like, because we did hear that Sheena's writing a book and there's going to be tea. And so she said on the Housewives Nightcap podcast the other day, like, oh, basically like, how dare she bite the hand that feeds her? And I would never do something like that. And it's like, I'm actually proud of these girls, like Katie and Kristen and even Ali, anyone who's sort of coming out of the woodwork now and being like, no, I think she was manipulating me. And I agree with Lisa. Like, someone gives you an opportunity, you should be so grateful. But I feel like Lisa does this thing where she makes you feel like you have to be grateful until the day you die. And it's like, at some point, you have started to create your own opportunity. Like, yes, you did start this, but at some point, these people have gone on to create their own opportunities to continue to work hard, to continue to do other things. And I do think she has treated them badly in some respects. And I feel like they have the right to talk about that now. I'm like impressed that they're now like not as afraid. Even Sheena, you would think would be the most fearful. And I'm impressed.
I'm impressed because also, and I think because Lisa is very old school. She reminds me of a lot of that I worked with who are famous. Like Lisa that's how she keeps her job, right? That's how she keeps on top, is that she makes all the people that have worked for her believe that they owe her, or that she'll always kind of, I don't want to say better, but like have a better outcome than them. Like they don't deserve to move past a certain place. And I don't agree with that. You shouldn't, especially as a boss or like a person of power. I don't think it's nice or necessarily to abuse it where you're holding that and dangling it over somebody's head. Because if you really respect somebody, she knows damn well that Sheena Shea works for that for years.
Yes.
Stood by her side. And if anything, she knows that Ali went through what she went through with James, but she's still, and obviously she needs to protect her business, because what the world doesn't realize is like, it's money and people don't want to lose money. They don't want to lose their jobs. And so she'll do it at all costs. But I rather Lisa just be honest and say who she is.
She'll never be honest.
Oh, she'll
never be honest.
That's what's the worst. It's like, I rather you say, you're right, I am ruthless and I am this because I have to be this. Doesn't mean I don't love Sheena. Doesn't mean I don't have compassion. Like there's a way to say things instead of being so cheeky and whatever that quote is. It's like
tongue in cheek, yeah.
And like shady or passive aggressive, because she should also be grateful that these casts gave her 10 years of their life and opened up their lives and put their shit on TV. And
that's such a good point, because yes, it's her show, quote unquote, but it is the cast that made it. No one is watching you on Vanderpump Rules and like very interested in what's going on with you and Ken and Hanky and Panky and Gigi and Donut and all these things. No one's watching that. We're watching Ariana. We are watching Katie. We are watching Sheena. So now if you flip it on the head, she should be grateful for them. And their chaotic lives for the last 10 years. I heard that at Lake Tahoe, like her Tahoe restaurant. It's just, outside it's just like pictures of the cast. And if you go to the restaurant, it's like Vanderpump Rules playing all the time. It's like, yes, you came up with the concept, but they were the people, they were the monkeys that danced. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's a
you were holding the strings, but they were dancing.
And that's what I think people don't realize. It's like it's two-way streets. It doesn't matter created something or owned something or produces something. You can't kind of like enslave. And I might get like this
enslave. I love that.
Enslave, because it's like you're like enslaving people and then you're using that against them, and it's manipulation, it's gaslighting. These are terms that like I think they didn't realize they'd get in trouble for. Now we know our rights. That's why I always say to people, like, if you're scared of someone, go to a lawyer. Not if you don't have the money, Google, because you can yourself defend yourself against other people trying to intimidate you. I think she uses a lot of intimidation. I don't like that. Yeah, she needs to have a two-way street because everyone's replaceable, including her. You know, I say it, but like network execs are not going to be like Lisa Vanderpump gave us 20 years of her life. If they find a new hot young thing that interests them, they're going with that. And that's where my whole thing is like, you got to stand a little bit more by your people too. You can't just like,
I totally agree.
Both of them, you know, and I hate saying that because it sounds like I don't, and I love Lisa Vanderpump because I love her for who she is. I just want to see more of that from her. I think she would have better success. Does that make sense? Like,
that does make sense. No, especially with what she came out with lately, where she said something recently like, oh, everyone should stop bullying my cast and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, Lisa, pot kettle black. You were just on Watch What Happens Live last week being a shady bitch. What are you talking about? You're the bully. What are you talking about? So again, it's the accountability. It's the insight. But you know what? That's what we love about Bravo Labs. No accountability, no insight. And that's their calling card, right?
Rewarded for bad behavior at times, you know, but I am proud of Sheena for like definitely having her own voice and standing in her own and realizing that she doesn't need anyone but herself, to go on being successful, you know?
Right. Yeah. Well, Chanel Omari, thank you so much for coming on the Bravo Investigator Podcast. Please tell everyone, you know, where they can follow you, what you have going on. Plug away, please.
Thank you so much, first of all, for having me on. And make sure you check out this amazing podcast. I love Bravo Investigator. You're really like in the know. You're always on top of your stuff. But you can follow me at Chanel in the City podcast for new updates. We have great interviews coming up. At Chanel Omari, you know, I do my stand-up comedy, my sketches. We also have the All-Star Comedy Show, which every month I do at Westside Comedy Club with a lot of famous comedians to give back to City Harvest. Because one thing I need to do is every time I feel like this industry could be so selfish, that I want to do something selfless. So there's a lot of hungry families in New York City, starving children. One thing I do is I always want to try to help feed them before myself. By the way, people don't even have to donate. Even whether you want to come to the show, donate for the ticket, the proceeds go to them, but also volunteering. Like sometimes I don't have money, so I just volunteer. I serve them. You guys can go to cityharvest.nyc.org and follow me and tune in, and hopefully you'll see me on your TVs soon, you know, and I would
love that.
Great interview. I hope I gave good insight because sometimes it's hard to articulate. You know how to articulate.
You are amazing. No, I loved having you here. You articulated yourself so well. And I thought about it right before I recorded. I'm like, I hope she's a feminist and I hope she understands what misogyny really means. And you just did. And I was like, great.
Really, and I do love my Bravo Lebs. But one thing I'm just saying is like in life, the motto from this takeaway is I just hope we can all stand together and just politely or kindly or professionally stand up for our own rights while treating others with respect. But, you know, also enjoying the entertainment of it all, you know, and I really have so much love for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I love you, BBs. I will see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Bravo Investigator Podcast in partnership with Hurrdat Media. You can watch full-length videos on Hurrdat Entertainment's YouTube channel. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok at the Bravo Investigator. If you enjoy the show, please leave me a 5-star review. Love you, BBs. See you next time.
A Hurrdat Media Production.